Hey everybody. I'm going to try, let me slide over one, to do something here. My son is teaching me about videography, and I'm going to make a quick video. Somebody asked about this part of the academic success and professional development plan. And so I thought that it might be easier to explain it here a little bit, and then I can post this for everybody to see. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Okay? Bear with me. So this week you are going to the library and you are looking for research. Now, it is important to look for research. That doesn't mean just any old article in the library or off the internet, anything like that. It means find an article where research was done. It may be a randomized control study, it may be systematic reviews, but it is research. It has that abstract. It says um, methods, it says analysis, it says results, discussion, conclusion. It has limitations usually. Look for those things. If something doesn't say results as a header, um, data analysis, or something like that, it's probably not research. So look specifically for a research article in the library. And it should be peer reviewed, and I believe you can click refereed as you search to take care of that. So what are you going to do to get ready? Look at the strategies presented in the resources this week. Here are your learning resources. To locate and analyze research. If you don't get a research study, you're not going to be able to do the matrix table. It won't work. The information won't be there. So use the library, not Google, not the internet, to find a peer-reviewed research article focused on a topic of interest to you in your area that you've chosen. If FMP is what you've chosen, then maybe you're going to be looking at medication um, compliance or something about diabetes and um, the I'm trying to think. In the hospital, you may be looking at workarounds and barcode medication administration. You may look at Foley catheter infections or something like that, but something that you're interested in related to your specialty area and what you may have even seen clinically and that you're interested in. So you're going to look for an article. You're going to find an article. You're going to review the article. Now, it says to reflect on the professional practice use of the theories and concepts as described. In other words, how are you going to use it? How are you going to apply it to practice? What can you do with this now that you've read it? Okay, so the assignment is to use week 4, part 4 section of your academic success and professional development plan template. Now remember, it's a template because it's your guide, it's your pattern. Once you start filling it in and submitting it, it's not a template anymore, it's your plan. So you can take that template word off of it. You are going to conduct an analysis of the elements of the research that you identified, and it's a list of things for you to do. Be sure that you clearly identify the topic of interest that you've selected. Now, this is not the title of the article, it's the topic that you searched to find the article. So make sure you're looking at what you searched, the topic that you searched, to find the article that you're talking about. All right, and then describe that professional practice use of the theories and concepts. The concepts, those are the things that they studied primarily. So they may have studied infection rates in central lines. How are you going to apply that information to your practice? The bottom line is, what are you going to do with it in practice? A clear and accurate analysis of the article using the matrix, and I'm going to go over it in just a minute. A one-page justification that clearly and accurately explains in detail whether you would recommend the use of this article to inform practice. A lot of people miss this part of the requirement. Are you listening? a justification that clearly and accurately explains in detail whether you would recommend the use of this article to inform practice. Would you suggest that people use it? You can use that CART method, and that's in your resources for the week, to evaluate the resources. Then you'll write a 2 to 3 page paragraph summary that will go at the end of your matrix table that includes in detail your approach to identifying and analyzing the peer-reviewed research. How did you find it? What did you search? How many times did you have to switch around? How many hits did you get the first time? How did you narrow down to the one you got? Identify in detail, describe at least 2 strategies that you use to be effective in finding your research. What were 2 things that you did that worked well to find the article that you got? And then it says a complete, detailed, and specific synthesis of at least one resource you intend to use in the future to find peer-reviewed research. So, something that you're going to use in the future to find peer-reviewed research, put all the information together about it and talk about it. And then integrate. Here's a biggie. Integrate 1 outside resource and 2 to 3 course resource specific resources to support your summary. That means you need to use and cite sources. You've got your outside resource if you're citing your article, and then 2 or 3 course specific resources from your learning resource list there that support what you're doing and what you're saying and how you got what you got, etc. Now, here's another part of the directions that are getting missed by some people. Add this work for this assignment to the original document that you started in week 1, and you built off of that every week. It's important to know, too, that you are writing 1 paper. You are writing a part every week. You're adding it to the paper, but don't just cut and paste, because you do not want 4 or 5 reference lists. You do not want 4 or 5 conclusions out there. Okay? You want, and this is what I'm saying a lot on the feedback, is you want your title. APA says the title of the paper goes at the top of the first page. Your academic and professional success plan template, or success plan, whatever the title is. Underneath that, you need an overall introduction to the entire paper. Going to be 6 parts. The entire paper. Make it a brief little introduction about what you hope to accomplish and why you're doing it. And the purpose statement. Make a very clear purpose statement. The purpose of this paper is to. And that should encompass the whole 6 parts. Then, the next thing, double space. Your week 1, part 1 header goes there. Week 1, part 1 introduction goes under that. And then the body of week 1, part 1. Move right on down. Now here we are at week 4, part 4. You've got that header. I recommend APA Level 1, which is centered, bold, and has upper and lowercase letters. Underneath week 4, you're going to have a brief introduction to this part. And then you're going to start in with your assignment. And you're going to complete all of these things. Okay? Let's move to, is this it? No. Here's your rubric detail. Let's look at it first. So here's what I use. I'm looking at the everything that you're supposed to do here. To get an excellent, to get the most points, you have to pretty much fill in what it says. You have to have your topic of interest selected. That's not just the title of your study. Underneath that, you will have the title of your study in a correctly formatted APA citation of the article you selected, along with link or search details. Now, if you just do a complete APA reference, that's fine. It meets all of those criteria. You've got your authors, your date, the title of the research, the title of the article, the title of the journal. You've got your volume, issue, page numbers, and you've got your DOI number. You got everything. Identify a professional practice use. Remember, that's what we talked about. All of these are in the grid, so you don't have to put them separately in a paragraph somewhere. Just put them in the matrix table. Just put this information in, write in grammar, write good sentences, and there you go. All of this information can be right there. All right. If it's partial, if it's not complete, if it's very vague, you see that you aren't going to get all the points. Now, there are, as I see it, there are 3 parts, and there are 20 points. So make sure that you get all the parts if you want all the points. The next thing is the matrix table. You are supposed to, number 1, analyze the article using the matrix table. If you don't have a research article, you won't be able to do that. And then the 1-page paragraph justification explaining whether or not you would recommend this article. And that comes out underneath the matrix table. So make sure you do that. That's half the points right there for either one of those. And then write a paragraph, and this is outside the matrix table underneath, and underneath the paragraph above your justification for using it. So 2 or 3 paragraphs. And you're going to include this information. Your approach, we talked about. Identifying 2 strategies, we talked about. A resource you intend to use in the future, and integrating course resources. And the outside source, or an outside source. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 things worth 45 points. So each one of those is a pretty significant piece of those points. Now, what doesn't count as much is formatting. 5 points for expression and formatting. But here's the important part of this. Do you see this? Your sentences follow writing standards. They're complete. They're logical. They're clear. But a comprehensive purpose statement, introduction and conclusion. That's what I keep looking for. You should have that overall introduction and an introduction for each part. So week 4 should have an introduction of its own. The purpose statement may be provided up front in the overall introduction, and that's fine. Or you can do a purpose statement with each individual weekly introduction. Either way. And then there should be a conclusion. But the conclusion should also, there should be one. There should be one conclusion. There should be one reference list. So let's say that in week 1 you used 2 references and you had a reference list. In week 2 you used 3 references and you had a reference list. So after week 2, the 2 references from week 1 should be moved to the end of the paper, and they should all be in one list. Now you're in week 4. So there should not be references scattered throughout your paper after week 1 or week 2 or week 3 or whatever. At the end of week 4, you have your overall conclusion labeled with a header, and you have your reference list. So start a new page that says references and list your references that you've used in all 4 parts right there. Take them out anywhere else they are, put them right there. Anything you cited should be in that reference list. Anything not cited should not be in that reference list. Make sure you're alphabetizing it as you go. Don't duplicate. If you use something again in week 4 that you also used in week 2, you don't need to add it to the reference list. If there's something new, add it. Make sure you put it in alphabetical order. Okay? And you got that. So, written expression and format in English writing standards, grammar, mechanics, punctuation. Make sure you're skipping spaces after your punctuation, commas, most periods. Should have a space skipped. So make sure you're doing little things like that. Make sure you're using complete sentences. You know, we write like nurses, which we never use complete sentences. So let's back that up and use complete sentences. Use good grammar. Spelling. Check your work. I've got it set on my Blackboard and my Microsoft Word so that it picks up and highlights things when they're grammar or spelling errors. And sometimes they're not wrong, but it makes me go check them anyway. So do that. Don't ignore those prompts that something's not right. Use Grammarly. Use Grammarly for every session. Grammarly, I've discovered, does not pick up incomplete sentences, though. So don't depend on it to do all the work for you. And then finally, 5 little bitty points for APA. That means that title page has to be correct. That means the headings throughout have to be correct. Your fonts need to be correct, and use these same fonts throughout. I see all kinds of big fonts, little fonts, bold fonts, very light fonts, Calibri, Arial, New Times Roman. I see everything. Highlight the whole thing and say 12 point Times New Roman. Boom, there it is. You may also do the same thing with your double spacing, and you're still going to have to take out all those little spaces that were put in, probably. Spacing is just an issue. Margins 1 inch all around. Align to the left margin. I see a few that are aligned to the center, so it puts a lot of extra space between words, trying to make that perfect right margin. You shouldn't have a perfect right margin. Have a perfect left margin, and then let the computer decide where it's going to return on the right. So indent, indent paragraphs, 5 spaces. Remember that from high school? Always indent your paragraphs. Once you've indented 5 spaces and you double spaced, you've got a lot of the battle done right there. Page numbers. The title page should start with page 1, and every page should have a number in the top right corner. Running head. Here's something I bet you didn't know. Walden does not require a running head. You do not have to put it on there. Now, you can if you want to, and if you do, and it's not right, then you will lose points. So I recommend don't do it if you don't have to. There you go. That's been a rule since 2016, I believe, in April. I put it on some things, and I'll share that with you if you want to see it. But you don't have to do the running head. Make sure your citations are correct. Make sure your reference list is correct. There's a lot of stuff there for just 5 points. So, it's important, but it's not, there's 15 points here for writing. There's 85 points for content. So make sure you're following these guidelines, but get that formatting down too. But follow these guidelines and make sure you've covered everything you're supposed to cover. Okay? Because I want to give you all 100 points, but I can't unless you earn it. Okay. Let's go over here. I want to pull up the template, because this is where we are right now. The template, and you have gone through. Oh, I'm still seeing a lot of this stuff. This should all be deleted. You don't want all of this in your professional paper, okay? Delete all this. Delete all of these directions, okay? Delete all of this. And here, look, an introduction paragraph, a clear and comprehensive purpose statement, a conclusion, okay? And ideally, and as you move forward, there should be one conclusion, and I'm pushing you that way to have your conclusion at the end of your paper, okay? So you'll see that. Doesn't count off significantly if you don't, so don't worry about it, but have one. Here is the directions again. Delete those directions. Look at all this space. Why is all this space here? I don't know. But take it all out. Take it all out, double space. It looks like it would be double spaced except for this bottom one. So this looks double spaced. Just take them all out and start here, and if you'll let it return, it should be double spaced. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I hope so. Here's something else. Here is your directions. Take them out. Here is a sample introduction. I'm still seeing these in the paper. This is not yours. Don't use it. Make your own. Okay? A lot of more directions. Take them out. All that directions. Take it out. Here is week 4. Here is the sample. Take this out. Put your introduction here. Double space. This is not double spaced. Take out all these extra spaces. APA says no extra spaces. Indent your paragraph. Double space. Get all that extra space. Delete these directions. Okay, you've got your introduction. And then comes your, once you do your introduction, you've got your table. So your topic of interest, we talked about it, goes here. That is the topic that you search, not the title of your paper, because the title of your paper goes here. Okay. The professional practice use. So what? You've read this great study. It says we should be doing this in practice. It found all these great things. So, what is something from that study that you can use in practice, that you can go back and tell your directors about, and that you can implement? Now, this is where, if you don't have research, you're not going to be able to do any of this. Um, and there should be more than one row, and nothing should say NA. So, what are the strengths of the research? If it's research, how many subjects did it have? Did it have two? Not very strong. I don't know if I'd rely and make changes based on experience with two patients, you see. 54, that's a little stronger. 3,000, now I'm paying attention. So, what are the strengths? How was it done? Did it use random sampling? Or did it just take whoever walked in the door and agreed to participate? You see, which one's stronger? Think about, too, ethics. Did they get informed consent? Did they go through a body that looked at the research and validated that it was a study worthy of being conducted? That adds strength to it. You can look at the authors. Are the authors known in their field? Look at the author information under your article and see what it says about them. Okay? That gives strength to their results. Limitations or weaknesses. Now, sometimes a study, usually 99% of the time, a study near the end will have limitations just under or just above conclusions. Look and see if it lists limitations. If not, then what are weaknesses? It didn't use random sampling. It had a small sample size. I mean, think about those things. The person who collected the data, maybe there were 10 different people collecting data on 20 subjects. How do you know they all collected the same way? How do you know they asked all the same questions? How do you know were they trained to do these interviews, kind of thing? So think about that. What makes it a weaker study? What makes it less reliable? What would it take for you to say, I don't know if I trust this or not? Think about that. I tell you another thing to look at, just as it comes to mind instantly. You need to be looking at studies that were. I'm taking a drink of coffee. You need to look at studies that were published in the last 5 years. Don't get anything older than 5 years. Look at their list of references. If this is something that was published in 2018, then likewise, they don't need anything really old in their list of references, unless it's some classic piece like Florence Nightingale or something. So look at their resource list. Look at their references. Do they have something from 1995 or 96? Do they have something from 2000, 2005 even? So think about that. A lot of times people do studies and they don't publish them right away. There may be something that causes them not to be publishable that they need to go back and fix. And they finally do, and they just didn't update their literature review. But look at that. That's a limitation. Something done on medication administration errors in 2000 probably isn't strongly reliable 20 years later. Okay. And then how does it relate to the topic of interest? You had a topic up here. Does this address the topic, and how? How does it give you information about that topic? Now, the one thing that may be blank is the notes. You decide. Do you need to add any other information to help make that clear? Now, I see something missing. Interesting. Do you notice it here? Aha. I need to go in and take a look at this, because right here Remember that thing on the, let me go back and look. Right here is missing from your matrix. You see that in your directions? This needs to be here. Here it is. Okay, it's in your directions. It's not on the matrix table. So I am glad we're doing this. There you go. So here are the last three things. Now again, delete these directions and just have your three paragraphs here. Okay? You can be four. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 if you want to, or whatever. Avoid one sentence paragraphs. If it's only one sentence, put that sentence up or down with another paragraph. All right? Okay. So I think that's everything I've got, and I will be making an announcement about the fact that I don't see this in that grid, and that is significant. Okay. Now let me just show you something really quick. Let me see if, no, I can't do it. Okay, I'll come back to that. Okay, so we're done for now. I hope that answered all your questions. If not, then let me know, and I will look forward to reading your work.